Hi folks, and welcome back to a full chili pepper update. I love filming these so much, and don't be fooled by today's gorgeous blue skies and bright sunshine. The weather here has properly turned. The season has changed, and as I look around the allotment, pretty much everything is starting to die back, apart from my chili peppers that you see here and some of my other hardy plants, of course, like my broccoli. But one of the things that really surprised me about growing peppers is just how hardy they are. You know, you think of them as a heat-loving tropical plant, but these things do really well into October, and then November is really when, for me on the south coast, they start to look properly sad. But so long as you're above freezing, these peppers won't die. And the key thing for this time of year is they will continue to ripen any green fruit. So if you've got plants that are starting to look a bit sad, but they've still got loads of green fruit on them, don't forsake them. So long as it's not going to hit freezing, those plants will continue to ripen those fruits, and that's what I'm going to be doing with these. I'm going to be keeping them going as long as I possibly can. And today's video, I'm just going to be in here talking about the varieties, showing them off a bit, because I've spent a lot of time talking about my comparison plants and the different mixtures that I'm using, and I've put all of my chili pepper videos into a playlist, so if you want to go see them from planting the very seeds up until now, and I'll have a hot sauce video coming up which will go in there as well. So it's the full journey from seed into hot sauce, and it's just, I just absolutely love these. So I'm going to be talking about the varieties, about the ones that I've enjoyed, and it's really, really windy today. Oh God, okay. Okay, it's too windy for this. Nope, don't trust it. So to start off with, I wanted to talk about all of the plants that I've got on the potting benches up here. Now these are all pretty much super hots with the exception of this single jalapeno plant. And originally I had, would you believe it, 7 more plants in here. You can see at the moment there's about 4 on each of the potting benches. And these ones have done pretty well. There's a mixture of orange habanero, peach ghost, reapers crossed with douglers, and we've got something that's gone really wrong with my orange habaneros. I'm not sure exactly what has happened, but a lot of my habaneros have come out looking like peach ghosts. And this is a really good example of one of the orange plants that's just gone a bit wrong. This pod, if you looked at it, you would swear was a ghost. You would never suggest this was an orange habanero, but we look at the label, you can clearly see orange habanero. I'm fairly certain my labelling was very accurate this year. So in here, this one is a peach ghost plant, and this is a pretty good example of what a peach ghost is meant to look like. They're sometimes a lot bumpier. Mine were quite smooth last year, and that's just the seed, but that's a traditional kind of ghost shape. It's got a little stinger, and the habanero shape, this is more of a habanero shape. You know, they're a bit fatter, a bit rounder, and it's just chaos with my plants this year. This up here, this is labelled as a habanero, but they're coming out a lot like ghosts. But another really interesting thing, and you might be able to see, is just the sheer quantity of flowers that are still on here. These are kind of from August, have just been putting out absolutely crazy amount of flowers. I've not seen anything like it on my other chili peppers, but all of the ones on the potting bench up here, just loads and loads of flowers, and some of the pods have come in really dense. There's a good example here of like a little cluster, and there's just lots of this. And these ones that are small, I very, very much doubt that these are going to come to fruition by the end of the year, but we'll see. There's still quite a bit of fruit that I've taken off these already. I've already got an orange sauce in the works, so I'm quite happy with these, but it's just a bit confusing. And certainly not knowing if they're ghosts or habaneros. I mean, habaneros are spicy, but ghosts are next level, so it makes it a little bit difficult planning. But it's part of the fun of it, really, isn't it? And it's a good opportunity to talk about this jalapeno as well. And you can see this has really gone a bit all over the place. I've not done the best job of supporting these. This one's sagging quite a lot, but quite small fruits on here. And these are farmers market jalapenos. They're meant to look obscene, like these crazy grey wrinkled things, and for the most part they've come out like traditional red jalapenos, which isn't a bad thing. And I've done a few jalapeno poppers, some covered in bacon, and they're just such a good treat, but not so much for the sauces. And Jalapenos are famed for kind of growing really quick and, you know, being these big plants really quick, but all of mine have been pretty diminutive. You know, this, you can see this is fitting in well with the Chinense varieties. They're about the same size, and Chinense are famously slow growing, jalapenos fast, but I've never had much luck with jalapenos. So I don't think I'll be growing as many of these next year. And one that I have to talk about, this one, look at the coloration on this. Really light, pale, almost anemic. And this is quite often what peppers look like at the start of their season, you know, and then as they mature, they develop much darker, healthier looking green growth. And this has always looked like this, you know, this hasn't really come across as a sign of deficiency. I did think maybe it's only an F4 strain. This is my Reaper, crossed with a Douglas, very rare pepper. Very, very cool pods, although when they ripen to brown, they do look a little disgusting. They are also disgustingly hot. So I'm not sure if this coloration is part of the F4 strain or something in the soil, you know, maybe a deficiency. I've got another Reaper cross that I'll show you now. And you can see the coloration on this one is much more standard. This is a standard chili pepper color, none of this kind of pale green stuff. And this is a nice little example of an isolated chili pepper. I showed off how I was covering a lot of the early flowers in bags to kind of try and isolate them, and this is how I mark them off to try and avoid mix-ups with seeds like I've got with my habaneros and ghost peppers this year. But this is a really, really healthy example of the Reaper cross Douglas. Loads of healthy, strong looking pods on here. Now back at home, you can see there's quite a few chili pepper plants that I've actually taken out of the greenhouse and brought into our conservatory. Now, these ones haven't been doing well in the conservatory. It's an okay conservatory, but it doesn't get the sun until around 1 o'clock. It's in the shade all morning. So these things haven't been doing much. They've been pretty much standing still, but the important part is they've been ripening, and they've been in here for quite a while now, maybe sort of 4 or 5 weeks, something like that. And it's given all the Chinense a load more room. These are all yellow and red starfish, and they're one of the peppers I didn't care too much about, but I have since tasted, and actually they're quite pleasant. So they'll be quite nice for kind of bulking out a sauce. Pretty kind of standard flavours, nothing crazy, and it's just starting to rain, perfect. The one exception though is this, which is a Sugar Rush Long Peach. And why do I have a Sugar Rush Long Peach back here? This plant is so far behind where it should be. You can see it's got to a really good size, but there's barely any fruit on here. There's a few green pods, but compared to my other plants, which I'll show you later, this is really far behind. So I've sort of brought it back just to see what it does, but it wasn't going to grow much more in the greenhouse, and it felt like it was taking up some valuable space. So I gave everything else a bit more room. I do have a few more interesting ones actually. My CGN 19198 is back here, just in a tiny little pot kind of hanging on. Really intrigued to see a few of these fruits ripen. And as well, I've got a purple, what's it called? It's a purple tiger. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have much luck with my purple tigers. For whatever reason, they just didn't really germinate. And it's very hard to see because these are all grouped in. There's a poblano in here as well. Not really done any fruiting properly, but you can see a few little here, and they've just got these beautiful purple flowers. No idea why they didn't germinate, but I'm going to try and salvage a few seeds because these have amazing, amazing leaves, these cool variegated patterns, and a really cool one to grow. So I just thought I'd give you a quick peek at the conservatory and this failed, well, kind of failed Sugar Rush Long Peach. We'll see what it does. Now moving back inside, we can talk about these Quadgrows a little bit. I've got 2 Quadgrows in here. As you can see, there is just an absolute gigantic mess of peppers in here. Now we've got 4 varieties of peppers growing in Quadgrows, and one of the ones that I've enjoyed the most are these, which are poblanos. They're a really mild chili pepper, and I've just been enjoying having those stuffed with rice and cheese and halloumi and all this kind of stuff. And this plant has been pretty prolific. I was attempting to grow one really big one. I think this one might be my biggest to date, but it's not all that heavy. And the world record of 420 grams is absolutely incredible. I've not even been able to get one to 100 grams. but absolutely delicious and really prolific. And one of the ones I'm most impressed with is this, my Sugar Rush long peach plant. And look at the sheer number of pods on here. This is by far and away the most prolific variety that I'm growing this year. It's not just this plant, the other plant is equally prolific. And you can see just pods and pods and pods. And these are such a cool colour and form. I think it's time to try one, don't you? Let's have this one. Now, it's not technically my first time trying a Sugar Rush long peach. I did try one off this same plant and I was really disappointed. It tasted like nothing. It was really, really bland. So I'm hoping that was a fluke and this one is going to be a bit nicer. They're not the pepperiest. They're not the spiciest pepper, but let's find out how much of a kick this one's got. Oh my goodness. This one does live up to its name. It's called a Sugar Rush long peach, and that first explosion as you bite into it is so, so sweet. Really mild, kind of slightly floral, but not overpowering. Some peppers are really, really floral and not too spicy at all. This must be around jalapeno level, maybe 5,000 Scoville. Really, really, that's a nice pepper. I'm not too sure how it would fare in a sauce, but oh wow, that sweetness is incredible. Oh wow. I can heartily recommend the Sugar Rush long peach. That is a delicious pepper. And if you can take your spice, this is a nice one to just snack on as you're working. It has taken these quite a long time to ripen. So the green pods have been on here for well in excess of 6 weeks, but wow. So moving back in, what else have we got? Well, okay, that was a little bit spicy actually. The last bite. If you didn't know, on chili peppers, the mildest bit is at the bottom, the tail normally, and then the spiciest bit is near the top. So if you want to impress people, have a little bite of the bottom and pretend it's a lot spicier than it actually is. But this is one of the last two plants to talk about, my cayenne plants, and these are kind of like a supermarket chili, you know. Most people know the cayenne, but I really do think it's kind of underrated and slightly overlooked. Oh, you can see this one's had something in it. I don't think this is a natural split. I think that's a pest, which is a bit frustrating, but that happens. You can see not many chili peppers on here anymore, but that's just because I've been harvesting this continuously. Really lots and lots of peppers have come off cayenne. They're just so prolific, absolutely wonderful, smoky, sweet flavour. I can't recommend them highly enough. And down here, this one is a bit of an interesting one, and this is an Aji Fantasy. Now the Aji peppers are a lot milder, you know, they tend to be on the milder side. Most of them are Baccatum variety. But what's interesting about this Aji Fantasy in particular is the size of the pods. These are gigantic. These are absolutely massive. I can't believe the size of these. They're normally around jalapeno sized, and I've got some outside. And this is their usual size. You can hopefully see the difference. The ones in the greenhouse are 2 or 3 times the size. And these ones are another one that are taking a really long time to ripen, but hugely, hugely prolific. You can see that these grow more as a bush, and this one's got a really big lean on it, which isn't great, but absolutely loaded with pods. It's looking really, really healthy, really nice plant. But I've been waiting for these to ripen. They've been this kind of pale yellow for a really long time, and I think it might just be that that's what they ripen to. There's one here which is a little deeper, so it's time to try an Aji Fantasy. So Aji Fantasy, really interesting, such a strange shape, and this kind of divides opinion a bit. There's kind of mixed opinions about the taste and usability of this pepper. It's generally not favoured for sauces, and it can be quite floral, so let's give it a go. What's a nice crunch. I don't think this is ripe. That's very bland. Not too much flavour at all. Kind of bitter. I'll have a look at the seeds. That's a good indication of whether or not it's ripe. Quite often when they're not ripe, you get quite a lot of black seeds or discoloured ones, but these do look pretty healthy, so I'm not certain. Maybe this is a bad pepper. Should I try another one? Maybe I'll try another one, but this particular one, not very impressive. Let me try one from a different plant. I'll try one from in here. Okay, round 2. Let's see. Oh, this has a really, it's got a strong floral smell. A strong floral smell. Strange. Once again, not much flavour and almost no heat in this one. The other one had a little kick. This is like a snacking pepper, but oh, the tip. That bit had an explosion of flavour and it was really pleasant. I think these just must not be ripe, so I'm going to leave them on the plant for a little while longer because there was just a little suggestion of quite a nice flavour in that one there. Watch this space, we'll see how they develop. So the Fantasy, not impressing yet, but it's just one of the coolest things about growing chili peppers. There are so many interesting varieties that you get to try out for the first time. This one is my mystery pepper. Now, from a distance, it looks fantastic. It looks really, really healthy. And there's not many pods on here. There's a few little glimpses of red. This is not how I remembered my mystery pepper. This is a traditional habanero shape, and I was expecting them to be these long, kind of elongated pods, so I don't think my seed came true. I think it probably was a random cross. You'll remember me waxing lyrical about this amazing pepper that I grew a few years back, but I don't think this has replicated it. However, I have had a few very nice habanero style pods off here, but barely any fruit. I've taken about 3 pods off. You can see this has still got flowers, but it's not where it needs to be. And I think this one, a failed experiment, unfortunately. Probably going to go in the bin. Just a really unproductive habanero style pepper. Never mind, these things happen. And last and unfortunately least, we've got these, my Aji norteño peppers, or norteño peppers. And you can see these are huge. These are coming up to 5 feet tall. They are absolutely gigantic. And that's all well and good. It looks impressive, but I've had about 3 peppers and you can see there's a couple of pods on here, you know. There's a few small ones. These are kind of new. It's nice to see it finally setting fruit, but it's just not done what it's meant to. I've got an isolating bag here. Doesn't look like there's any peppers in here. Bit of a shame. And you know, I was gonna segue into saying that this is the biggest mistake I've made this year. And it's using pots that are too big, that's let the plants grow and grow and grow. And then it's kind of got to the end of the season and they've not reached the kind of pot capacity. You know, those roots need to fill out and then they start putting on the peppers like crazy. And actually, the more I look, the more peppers in here I do see, which is really good because it means these norteños have hit the right stage. But it's about a month, maybe 6 weeks too late. And I was gonna say, it's probably because of my pot sizing. However, these are only in 7.5 litre pots. These aren't my 10 litre pots. This jalapeno is in a 10 litre pot. Interestingly, you can see this one's really healthy actually, loads of red pods. Really, really good. That's probably my best jalapeno plant, but these by far my biggest mistake. And my next chili pepper video, I'm gonna be weighing all of my harvest. It'll be a final kind of harvest video looking at the weights, and I'll be surprised if I even got 200 grams off of my 3 Aji norteño plants. This is my other one, looking really sad up against the shed in the kind of derelict corner of the allotment. But once again, these are really big big plants. They're looking a little wilted. They're definitely the thirstiest plants I've got, but just barely any fruit. You know, you can see 1, 2, 3 green pods, you know, just worthless. Complete waste of soil, basically, unfortunately. So maybe if I was gonna do Nortenno again, because actually I've been disparaging these, but I've just remembered I did try one of the red pods, and it's an incredible tasting pepper. It's got an almost apple kind of zing to it. It tastes like a cross between an apple and a chili pepper. And I will be growing them again next year, I think, because it's a really fascinating flavour profile. Really, really nice in fresh cooking. But I think I'll be using much smaller pots to try and force them into flowering and setting fruit earlier. I kind of started the video with the premise that I was going to talk a lot about how I'd used the wrong pot size and most of the plants hadn't quite got away. But I don't know that that's necessarily true. My Sugar Rush Long Peach, perfect, they've done really well. My Aji Fantasy, really good, you know, right proportions, loads and loads of fruit. My Poblano as well has done well. My Cayenne have done absolutely incredible. As normal, my Quadgrow plants have done very, very well, dramatically better than anything in pots, and the reason for that, I'm not quite sure. You know, people say that Quadgrows shouldn't be very well suited for chili peppers. They don't like having wet roots. Well, tell that to these plants because they're doing so much better than anything I've got in a pot. The Chinense varieties, yeah, didn't do too well with these, and these are only in 5-litre pots. But despite being in 5-litre pots, you know, they've still not put out that many fruits. There's still lots and lots of flowers. They're kind of a month behind where they need to be, really. This is what I would have liked to have seen them looking like 6 weeks ago, you know, all of these flowers that were going to come to fruit. The other plants as well, they have all done amazingly, you know, and they've been in much bigger pots. So I think maybe I was being a bit hard on myself. I think we did have a pretty bad growing year this year for peppers as well. You know, June and July, loads and loads of cloud. That kind of key time period where they would be getting all that heat and energy. I think maybe I was just extrapolating from what's happened to my Nortennos, which I thought were in 10-litre pots, and I thought was my error. Looking around, it's quite interesting, and I love experimenting with all these different peppers. I'm still learning so much. It's only my 3rd year, really, of growing peppers, and I love sharing it, and I love sharing my kind of joy, and I hope it's made a few of you out there try growing peppers, because it's just such variety. And I love hot sauces, which is going to be my next video, because I've got some hot sauces underway already. And just as ever, these have been an absolute pleasure to grow. They put such a smile on my face, and you get really good value. You know, we're into October and they're still looking healthy. You're still going to be taking harvests, and that is what is left for me to do. I'm going to be getting in here and doing some harvesting. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and hopefully I'll see you again next time.